A car with up to 622 kilometers range, this could be the car that Nissan has been needing. So the Nissan Leaf is kind of, in my opinion, one of the OG electric cars. We all know someone who's had one, and I suppose as we reflect years later, they probably aren't the best electric car, and they're definitely in need of a bit of a revamp, and a revamp is what they've got. Now, one interesting fact is that they've actually sold over 700,000 Nissan Leafs since its launch in about 2010, and the new one, well, this could be the brand's saving grace. So it is an electric car, and we have to begin by talking about stats. So there's two batteries, a 52 and a 75 kilowatt hour. My advice is probably go for the bigger one, and on that you're going to have up to 622 kilometers. WLTP range. Now, my real world range, we're getting about 14.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So that works out at about 530 kilometers, which is very decent. If you can get over 500, happy days. It has 150 kilowatt fast charging, a top speed, interestingly, only of 160 kilometers per hour. So this thing is not going to be your autobahn mile muncher, but in Ireland, in the real world, that is absolutely perfect. And what I do respect about Nissan is last night in the press conference, they just told us straight up, we want to build a car with a massive range. So it's all about aero, which we'll talk about in the styling. So aero is at the forefront of things here, and so everything is designed to cut through the air. I do like also the styling through here, and this emblem lights up. You've got nice aero wheels. Again, you're going to use that word aero quite a lot, and this, you'll notice, is quite shallow here and deep down here, and that again is all to improve efficiency. Now, I don't know about you, but I think this looks a billion times better than the last Leaf. Also, the door handles in the front pop out, and then these are what I like to call the Nissan Duke of door handles. The rear, this is its party piece. It looks very, very cool. I love the way this pops up like a little lip. And I suppose a cool thing about the lights here is it's a bit of a tribute to Nissan's past. When they light up, you have 2, which is Ni in Japanese, and 3, which is San, and that is Nissan, which hopefully you get the gist there. And as a whole, quite a nice setup from the rear. And that leads us nicely into the boot. So it's a 430 litre boot, which is quite spacious. It'll fit most things. You can see we've got some backpacks, some suitcases, and there's even a little bit of clever storage down there. Now, one thing I will say is it's not the most hatchbacky or SUV boot, which means if you are bringing a dog somewhere, they are going to have limited headspace. And I was speaking to someone who has an Aria at the moment, and I said, would you consider going for the new Leaf? And they said, yes, except unfortunately that boot is just a bit too sloping. However, it does add to that drag coefficient of 0.25 and also makes it more efficient. So in the rear, it's a very comfortable seat. There's also 2 ISOFIX points. Worth noting, there's not one in the passenger seat in the front. Knee space is good. Your feet just about fit underneath the seat in front of you. You got tons of headspace. I do want to talk about this panoramic sunroof. The reason it's quite cool is it has thermo protection in it. And basically, they showed us last night, there was I suppose you put your hand up and you see the difference in temperature as the sun shines through. Now, where that's really practical in the real world is it means that the sun doesn't heat up the cabin, so you don't have to use your air conditioning, which again makes it more efficient in the summertime. Because in the winter, everyone knows that cars are not as efficient, but it's actually the same in the summer because you have to blast your AC. This is where you're theoretically going to spend your 622 kilometers of time. So you've got these 2 big 14.3 inch screens, they blend in together. The biggest win there, aside from the quality being much better than in something like a Nissan Aria, is the fact that Google is now built in. It just makes life so much easier. The real reason for that is it will precondition the car for a charger, and it plans your route with chargers in mind. It's just absolutely very, very clever. In addition to that, your Google Maps actually comes up on the screen in front of you, so you no longer even need to look to the center screen. You've got your shortcuts for your temperature, your heated seats, and then your gear selectors down here. And as a whole, comfortable seat. We've done about 110 kilometers so far today in the car. It's been really nice. I love the flat spot at the bottom of the steering wheel where you can rest your hand. There's wireless charging there, a little bit of storage, a very small glove box, and decent headspace. I have to say, as a whole, it is a lovely cockpit, a massive step up from its predecessor, and actually a massive step up from anything I've driven from Nissan in the last couple of years. So what is the Leaf like out on the road? Initial thoughts, very smooth. I have to say the suspension is brilliant. It's got McPherson suspension, which we've covered before on the channel, at the front, multi-link at the rear, and earlier on today we were in Copenhagen city, driving over speed bumps, potholes like I'm about to hit now. And for an electric car, it's very smooth, often with the extra weight, which I think this is somewhere between 17 and 1900 kilos, depending on which battery size you get. That weight can interrupt the suspension being smooth quite a lot, but they've done a phenomenal job, to be fair. A thing that's not phenomenal, I will say, is the wind noise on the motorway over the mirrors, which ironically enough, I think these are specifically designed for the European market to be a little bit more efficient. And I found actually there's a bit of noise over them, which is a bit of a shame, but as long as you're not doing too much motorway mileage at 120 kilometers per hour, that shouldn't be an issue. And you can always just turn on the radio. As we take it out on the open road, I suppose another big thing is the driving aids, and I suppose they have I think it's called Pilot Pro now, which it seems to work quite well on the motorway. I haven't used it too much to really give a proper insightful review on it. You'll also hear it's got your speed warning recognition. Again, a little bit frustrating. However, it does have driver recognition here and it's not too interruptive. Other things that I suppose is worth mentioning is, despite being shorter than the previous Leaf, because they've put the wheels further into the corners, it actually has a better turning circle. And I think to live with as a size in Ireland, I often talk about this is about the right size. If you go much bigger, you end up being too wide for some country lanes or for parking in the city. So something like this is just about right. It also has a really good 360-degree camera. I think there's 8 cameras on the car in total, which just means you can park it really well, really cleanly. You can see exactly where curbs are, and it makes your life a million times easier. In terms of prices, they start at 36,500 euros for the 52 kilowatt hour battery. Now, if you upgrade to the 75 kilowatt hour battery, it costs from 40,000 euro. So in conclusion, what do we think of the new Nissan Leaf? Well, to begin with, if you have an old Leaf and you're considering upgrading, it's not even worth considering. Just go right ahead and do it, because this is leaps and bounds better. They've been able to take all that knowledge and experience and really perfect a car to the best that they have so far. Now, as of right now filming it, I don't know the prices in Ireland, so it's tough to say if it's good value or bad value. However, if they price this correctly, this could do really well for the Japanese brand. Other things I'd like to point out, it's going to have vehicle to grid. So we've often talked about vehicle to load, where you can plug in a kettle or whatever it might be, but you will be able to put it back into the grid. I think it has an output of about 3.6 kilowatts. Let's see how that all goes. I think it's going to be about a year away, but it will have the capability to do it. Another thing that I think is quite cool is there's no subscription. So in a lot of cars nowadays, you have to pay a monthly subscription to keep certain features within the car or to download apps. But here in the Nissan Leaf, it comes as standard. Anyway, this is the DoneDeal YouTube channel. My name is David O'C. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And thank you so much for watching.